Ladies and gentlemen.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and I feel we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor.
All right, so now we back with John Bolton, and this is straight out of what they call the authoritarian playbook. I mean, no freedom of speech, no First Amendment. You say anything, and they're going to try to come down on you. And of course, people have been saying this about Trump the entire time. Before Trump was elected, people said that he goes after his political rivals in an authoritarian manner. And all I could say is, like, damn if you're not watching it, like, right now in real time. I mean, what else are people supposed to think? But let's check it out.
Security advisor John Bolton's Washington, D.C. area home early this morning. A source familiar with the matter tells NBC News that the FBI agents raided Bolton's home in Bethesda, Maryland this morning as part of a, quote, national security investigation in search of classified records. The FBI has not commented, but in a seemingly related post just made on X, FBI Director Kash Patel wrote moments.
Hey, Ronnie.
FBI agents on mission. We've reached out to National Security Advisor Bolton. He has not responded yet, Claire. Note here, John Bolton, who did briefly work for Donald Trump as National Security Advisor in his first term, has turned into a fierce Trump critic. We just actually, just a few days ago, spoke about him here on this show because he occurred. He said that Trump had handed Putin a win. In fact, Trump went to social media to criticize Bolton for those comments. And now, a few days later, we have this. We don't know there's a link, but we certainly know this is a president who has promised retribution.
Yeah, this is chilling. It really is. Listen, John Bolton and I disagreed on many things back in the days when I was serving in public office, but I don't think very many people that know John Bolton would argue that his beliefs were intellectually sound. You could disagree with him, and that he gave a lot to this country in terms of time and his intellect.
Yeah, this is what's crazy is that not only is Trump going after his political opponents, but look at the individuals he's going after. John Bolton would be considered a neocon, right? For example, He was against Obama making a nuclear deal with Iran to halt nuclear production. He was against that deal. And you saw recently he went in and used the lack of any deal as a reason to attack. So did Israel. You see? So this is ironic because John Bolton would have been on their side with that issue, if they had been around, if Trump was around in the Obama days, speaking about it. Now that's ironic. So this man, it appears that the only reason why he's really going after him is because he criticized him, not because there's any legitimacy in the claims that he would take top secret information out of his home. I mean, it's ridiculous because this guy is a real conservative, but in any case. And I think that's the message because so many people have been speaking out against Trump. But I have to say, my guess is that it's because, sure, John Bolton has said these things, but it's more so under the fact that it's happening now. He just made comments recently. I think Trump gets triggered by that, and then he does what he does, this authoritarian move, lock up, arrest, or, because after all, why wouldn't you have done it? I mean, what's new? Why wouldn't you could have done this the entire time? You see what I mean? But what has John Bolton done recently that would signal the Justice Department to arrest him? See, that's the weird thing. And the only thing he's done recently is criticize Trump on his meeting with Putin. Again, Democrats, liberals largely disagreed with John Bolton on his whole. I mean, John Bolton is not a liberal. And so it shows you that it's really actually ridiculous because he has more in common. I mean, after all, he served under Trump. He was a Trump appointee that served under Trump. Trump asked him to serve for him, and he did. And this is an example of a lot of things. Number one, Trump always goes after the people that work with him later. Soon as they deviate from his script once, he goes after them. Pretty much, that's Trump for you. But then the other thing is that it's always about something personal. So you see, this liberal that is on the right, you could call him a liberal pretty much, although he's got a lot of he's got what, 35 years journalism experience, for the Washington Post. But he left when the Washington Post got sold, right, to the guy who owns Amazon. But the dude to the left is a liberal, right? Pretty much, right? And he actually, this is ridiculous. He never agreed with John Bolton on much. And so this is ironic that the people that liberals never really disagreed with much, Trump is actually arresting. Right. They outside John Bolton's home.
Security advisor John Bolton early this morning. A source familiar with the matter tells NBC News that FBI agents were sent there as part of a national security investigation in search of classified records. The FBI has not yet commented on this story.
Well, the thing is that if you're claiming that he has top secret information in his home, well, that's exactly what Trump was prosecuted for. So it also looks very unlegally, like it's not legally sound. If it's about classified information in his home, which I doubt very seriously he has. And by the way, I don't even think he was at home when the raid happened. He wasn't even aware of it. That's what he said. I believe that's the only comment they got from him or from his lawyer, right? But Trump was also prosecuted. Isn't that irony there? So how do you go through the legal hoops? Because if you prosecute it, like Kash Patel, he's the one that's the head of the FBI, right? But Kash Patel defended Trump having top secret information on his own property to the thousandth degree. So even a Trump judge said that there was cause for raiding Trump's home. That was the one that actually let him off in the end. But even the new judge with no experience, the one who had zero experience, right? I forget what her name is, but she came up in a big scandal because she let Trump off in the end. But she's the one that signed the warrant pretty much for them to go into Mar-a-Lago. But let's listen some more. Yo, facts, Joseph. I mean, they're trying to keep everyone off of the Epstein files, and hold on, let me let this play before I comment. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, that's right. It's John Bolton. Sorry about that. You're right. Thanks, Brian. Wait a second. You said you can't hear the news feed? Okay, hold on. Thanks for letting me know. 2 seconds. Let me pull this off and pull it back up. I think this should do it. Boom, boom, boom. Oops. I went too far. Hold on. Here we go. Let me know if you can hear it now. Let me know if you can hear it now.
So here's what I don't get. He's been sitting on the Epstein files this whole time, and every time someone brings it up, suddenly there's some brand new emergency. Putin gets to keep part of Ukraine. Job numbers are fake. Let's investigate Letitia James. Investigate Jack Smith. It's like, dude, just release the files. If your name's not in there, you'd think you'd want everyone to see them, right? But instead, it's constant shiny distractions, while the one thing that matters just stays locked up.
We have breaking news just now. FBI agents.
I find it difficult, if not impossible, to believe that there's some reason to arrest John Bolton on national security grounds. I found plenty of reason to disagree with John Bolton's positions, with his prescriptions for foreign policy over the years, but this seems to be just blatant, bald-faced retribution because Donald Trump doesn't like him and sees him as having, betrayed him, and so he gets arrested. It is chilling. It is disgraceful, and I doubt, frankly, how many months into the second Trump administration are we? I doubt this is the last time we're going to see this sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen throughout the administration, John, the president, as he had said during the campaign, enacting forms of retribution against people who he felt had crossed him or betrayed him or had been critical of him, and none more so than people who had worked for him before that. We saw that with the members of his previous administration who had their security clearances stripped because for some reason they fell afoul of what the president was saying or doing. And I doubt that John Bolton, it's hard to believe that John Bolton has anything in his home that could incriminate him in some way. But it's also quite possible to think that he is not the last of people that the president would like to see punished in some way for what he sees as disloyal.
To the breaking news of just a few moments ago, FBI agents have raided the home of former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton early this morning. A source familiar with the matter tells NBC News that FBI agents were sent there as part of a national security investigation in search of classified records. The FBI has not yet commented on this story. We should note again, we don't know what's happening here. It's a raid. If there are criminal charges that follow, the government will have a chance, of course, to explain their case. But right now, we just know that John Bolton, former national security advisor for President Trump, now turned pretty harsh Trump critic, his home in suburban Washington has been raided. Joining us now by phone is MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney, and he is near Ambassador Bolton's home in Bethesda, Maryland. Ken, let's start. Just tell us the latest of what we know here, and what would the FBI, what would they have to justify a raid like this?
Good morning, Jonathan. I have one update for you. The FBI, in fact, has commented on this. An FBI spokesperson told me, I'm going to read the statement, quote, "The FBI is conducting court-authorized activity in the area. There is no threat to public safety. We have no further comment." And that is generally what the FBI does when there is a visible search of a residence or a business, is they will confirm, because it's obvious to everyone with eyes, that they are conducting court-authorized activity in the area. To answer your question, what would they need to do this? They would need a magistrate judge to sign a warrant after a finding of probable cause to believe that there is evidence of a crime at the location of the search, which is John Bolton's home here in Bethesda. And as you said, a source is telling NBC News that this is about a search for classified documents. So what's the context here? Well, John Bolton wrote a book that was very critical of Donald Trump, and it was sort of a memoir recounting his time as national security advisor called The Room Where It Happened. And remember, the Trump administration not only sued him, but also launched a criminal investigation, which was then subsequently dropped when President Biden took office and Merrick Garland became the Attorney General. The lawsuit was also dropped. They were trying to essentially say that he didn't get the required permissions and clearances around making sure there was no classified information in the book. He has long said there was no classified information in the book, but that is one of the possible avenues here.
Okay, they give a rundown exactly on the timeline, too, and what's already transpired in the past over this book with the Trump administration's DOJ and the questioning before.
Just a few days ago, FBI Director Kash Patel was on Fox Business, saying falsely that the search of Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, the FBI raid, was unconstitutional, was unfounded, that there was no predicate. In fact,
You hear that? You hear that? This is Kash Patel said that the raid on Trump's home was unconstitutional, unfounded, unwarranted, and they had a judge sign it too. So they had to show evidence and get a judge to sign it before they raided Trump's home. And now Kash Patel is raiding this guy's home. This is so funny.
of the possible avenues here for what they could be looking at. Of course, this is incredibly ironic, given the fact that just a few days ago, FBI Director Kash Patel was on Fox Business saying falsely that the search of Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago, the FBI raid, was unconstitutional, was unfounded, that there was no predicate. In fact, a judge signed a warrant in that instance as well. And Judge Eileen Cannon, who is a Trump-appointed judge who ruled in Donald Trump's favor and in many, many issues, actually upheld the legality of that search and rejected Donald Trump's lawyers' efforts to throw it out. But of course, Donald Trump and his allies denounced that FBI action.
Hey, do me a favor. I don't mind people have different opinions in the chat, but don't flood the chat just with one comment 50 times. It's just don't do that. Okay, so here's the thing. He was a frequent critic. If you believe he was a critic of Trump's, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't believe he was a critic of Trump's, put a 2 in the chat. I just want to see where folks' heads are with this. People got a lot of opinions. Now let's qualify some of them. So if you believe he was a frequent critic of Trump or a critic of Trump, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. And this gives us some insight into the other comments people make as well. We can kind of see, do they match up? Or is it actually hypocritical comments sometimes? I mean, everybody gets to look at each other. Me, myself, I think he was a number 1. I think he was a critic of Trump. You see? So, but I see there's some people that they want him locked up, but they don't think he was a critic of Trump. That's weird as hell. He actually worked for Trump. He was hired by Trump. He was a Trump cabinet member on national security, right? Advisor, isn't that it? And I believe, and then he started criticizing Trump. He stepped down, or Trump got rid of him. Actually, Trump got rid of his ass, and then he wrote a book about Trump, his experience with Trump. And Trump said that anything that he said in that book, whether it was confidential or top secret, is illegal. And confidential, what does that mean? Confidential? Well, in any case, it's been litigated. The matter's already been litigated. He was found not to be by their own department, by their own Justice Department back then. So this is kind of weird. And that's what we're getting at. Lock up for what, Joseph? Exactly. Lock up for criticizing. That's your First Amendment right. Your First Amendment right is to stand. That's the first one. That's the top one, to be able to speak truth to power and to vote, to have a say in the society, to have a voice. You see what I mean? And this is like, that even came before the vote even came. Your right to speak your truth. That's the fundamental aspect of being American, of being an American citizen. being able to speak your truth. Now that's a human right also that's supposed to be preserved, but that's supposed to be a foundational American U.S. person's right, and yeah. Yeah, for real. If you support Trump, you support pedophiles. They're hiding the pedophiles. No, you could get a warrant. It's only a suspicion. A warrant is not a guilt. It's only a suspicion. A person makes an argument to a judge, and if the argument is plausible enough, the judge might sign it or might not sign it. It depends on who the judge is. But there's no a raid is no guarantee of charges. That's just not how it works. And it's also no guarantee of a judge's opinion of guilt or not. Exactly, probable cause. Now let me ask y'all this. Let me ask you all this. What aspect of this would be national security? John Bolton hasn't worked in government in how long? In a decade, damn near. So, what do y'all think the aspect? Tell me, because I'm missing something. What is it he could have done lately to, right, be to compromise national security? So that's going to be curious to see what Kash Patel comes up with. And also, as I hear, I think you'll hear it soon. I don't believe John Bolton was even at home when this raid happened. He wasn't even aware when it happened, I don't believe. But let's play it. I think his lawyer is going to say that. Oh, okay. Is it frozen? Is it frozen? Thanks for telling me. Good grief. Forgot. Hold
Were sent there as part of a national security investigation in search of classified records. The FBI has not yet commented on this story. We should note again, we don't know what's happening here. It's a raid. If there are criminal charges that follow, the government will have a chance, of course, to explain their case. But right now, we just know that John Bolton, former national security advisor for President Trump, now turned pretty harsh Trump critic, his home in suburban Washington has been raided. Joining us now by phone is MSNBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney, and he is near Ambassador Bolton's home in Bethesda, Maryland. Ken, let's start. Just tell us the latest of what we know here, and what would the FBI, what would they have to justify a raid like this?
Good morning, Jonathan. I have one update for you. The FBI, in fact, has commented on this. An FBI spokesperson told me, I'm going to read the statement, quote, the FBI is conducting court-authorized activity in the area. There is no threat to public safety. We have no further comment. And that is generally what the FBI does when there is a visible search of a residence or a business, is they will confirm, because it's obvious to everyone with eyes, that they are conducting court-authorized activity in the area. To answer your question, what would they need to do this? They would need a magistrate judge to sign a warrant after a finding of probable cause to believe that there is evidence of a crime at the location of the search, which is John Bolton.
Facts. It appears the FBI are able to do everything except what's connected to Epstein, like the Epstein files. They cannot release the Epstein files. And let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it real. Joe Rogan called this a couple weeks ago.
Here's what I don't get. He's been sitting on the Epstein files this whole time, and every time someone brings it up, suddenly there's some brand new emergency. Putin gets to keep part of Ukraine. Job numbers are fake. Let's investigate Letitia James. Investigate Jack Smith. It's like, dude, just release the files. If your name's not in there, you'd think you'd want everyone to see them, right? But instead, it's constant shiny distractions. Well, the one thing that matters just...
So, is this a shiny distraction? If this is a shiny distraction, press 1 in the chat. If it's not a tiny distraction, press 2.
Stays locked up. If look, man, if you still think he's playing 4D chess, I hate to break it to you, the guy's barely
Okay,
playing
Don.
checkers. And he's eating
Yes, I
pieces.
believe so too.
I mean, come on, how much horse shit before you realize your alpha male is just an 80-year-old dude with early dementia spray tanning his face at 3 a.m. while rage tweeting about Rosie? So,
I mean, he called this a couple of weeks ago. He's commenting on all the other charges Trump has found since people started demanding the Epstein files. You got all kinds of charges. They're going against so many people in government, right? In state level government and everything else, federal government. They're firing people. They fired the person that prosecuted Ghislaine Maxwell. They fired her, right? Okay, so why would you fire the person that prosecuted her? Like, what the heck is up with that? And why don't you even call her to the congressional hearings? She must know a lot. I mean, they call for congressional hearings, right? But they only do it when they say who the witnesses are that they will call. They don't call any of the victims. They don't call it Acosta, any of the people that worked on anything. They actually just go around everything. I mean, I'm sorry, but according to what Joe Rogan says, it seems so that this is yet but another of many distractions. I mean, we're in D.C. with the National Guard. We're fighting our own citizens with the National Guard. We're not helping citizens with disasters. Is that because it's better to have shit burning up and flooded so the news can be there and people can be stressed about something, people can be busy rather than to think about the Epstein files? I mean,
here's what I don't get. He's been sitting on the Epstein files this whole time, and every time someone brings it up, suddenly there's some brand new emergency. Putin gets to keep part of Ukraine. Job numbers are fake. Let's investigate Letitia James. Investigate.
Right, but me, I'm not even a Joe Rogan fan, right? I hear somebody say Rogan is scum, though. I mean, I'm not a Joe Rogan fan. I wasn't a John Bolton fan. But I'm not coming at it from a perspective of being a cheerleader. I'm just coming from the perspective, no matter who it is, it's just analyzing the statements they make and asking, is this a true statement or not? The reason why Joe Rogan is a good person to utilize is because Joe Rogan was one of these people's heroes. I mean, he's one of the people that used his social media platform to get Donald Trump elected, while other people were like, yo, this dude's a pedophile. Yo, this dude is going to be an authoritarian pedophile. Like, I'm not voting for him. That's what other people thought about Trump that didn't vote for him. But the people that voted for Trump and listened to Rogan, they were saying something completely different. They were saying it's the Dems who are the pedophiles, the Dems who are in deep state, the Dems this, the Dems that. And now that Trump has power, all of that stuff disappeared. The deep state disappeared. The pedophiles disappeared. Can't deal with the Epstein files anymore. Got to cover that up. They were like, day one, they're going to release the Epstein files. That's what Kash Patel, that was his whole election bid when he was trumping and hitting the canvas for Trump. Pam Bondi, same thing, hitting the canvas for Trump. They all got jobs because they said those things. And they all got jobs because they said they would follow Trump, not really the Constitution. And here you have them at a time where people, left and right, are demanding the Epstein files, and they find everything else but the Epstein files.
Jack Smith. It's like, dude, just release the files. If your name's not in there, you'd think.
I mean, To me, I don't see any lie there. I don't see any lie there from Joe Rogan.
He released massive amounts of classified and confidential but classified information. That's illegal, and you go to jail for that. And he should have known that. You go to jail for that. I think some of it was classified by him.
We are told that career officials, including intelligence officials over at the White House, actually cleared the book for publication, but Trump's political appointees sought to overturn that initial approval. What do you make of all of this?
It's a bit of a tortured history, Wolf. We do know that John Bolton was terminated from the White House in 2019. He wrote a book and submitted it to the National Security Council, as he was required to do, for what we call pre-publication review. That was conducted by the person on the National Security staff who was responsible for that work. Mr. Bolton contends that after months and months of working with him, that he was...
Okay, I'm going to let this part play again. But listen, I'm about to put the chat on subscribe, and all you have to do is subscribe. You don't have to wait, right? But that's going to open up the chat for folks. I'm just letting you know. So if all of a sudden you see you're not in the chat, just click the subscribe link and it will open back up.
Was told orally that the review had been completed and that the book was cleared for publication. A week or two after that, he was told that that person's boss had decided to conduct their own review into the potential classified material in the book. And it kind of threw the whole process back into delay. In the meantime, Bolton had already conveyed to his publisher that the book had been approved, it was printed, it was bound, it was ready to go out. That precipitated a lawsuit by the White House against Bolton to both enjoin the publication of the book and to seize the revenue that Bolton was being paid because they claimed that he had not gone through the process.
Okay, so the chat is in subscriber mode now. You don't have to wait, just subscribe and you can continue. Yeah. But this is I think this is some very relevant information right here. So let's listen up again.
He released massive amounts of classified and confidential but classified information. That's illegal, and you go to jail for that. And he should have known that. You go to jail for that. I think some of it was classified by him.
We are told that career officials, including
So
intelligence officials...
Trump says that he believes that some of it was classified by him. He believes. Notice how Trump never knows, but belief is enough to put it out there. He wants people to, I guess he's using that as some sort of excuse or something. But I don't know what it is with Trump, but let's listen more.
Over at the White House actually cleared the book for publication, but Trump's political appointees sought to overturn that initial approval. What do you make of all of this?
It's a bit of a tortured history, Wolf. We do know that John Bolton was terminated from the White House in 2019. He wrote a book and submitted it to the National Security Council, as he was required to do, for what we call pre-publication review. That was conducted by the person on the National Security staff who was responsible for that work. Mr. Bolton contends that after months and months of working with him, that he was told orally that the review had been completed and that the book was cleared for publication. A week or two after that, he was told that that person's boss had decided to conduct their own review into the potential classified material in the book. And it kind of threw the whole process back into delay. In the meantime, Bolton had already conveyed to his publisher that the book had been approved, it was printed, it was bound, it was ready to go out. That precipitated a lawsuit by the White House against Bolton to both enjoin the publication of the book and to seize the revenue that Bolton was being paid because they claimed that he had not gone through the process faithfully. Ultimately, John Bolton prevailed in that suit. Money was not taken from him, and he was allowed to publish the book. It was only after that process that the Trump DOJ, in his first term, of course, initiated then a criminal investigation of whether or not Bolton had mishandled classified information. They convened a grand jury. They issued subpoenas. That work continued from the from the Trump DOJ into the Biden years. But ultimately, DOJ walked away from the case, kind of dismissed the grand jury, and never charged John Bolton with a crime. So the fact that they've renewed this investigation now, really raises good questions as to whether or not they actually have additional or new evidence that would justify such a step. And it all.
Okay, so I don't know if you noticed that, but he went through a timeline of events between Trump and Bolton regarding Bolton's book, where Trump had accused Bolton openly of, releasing classified information through his book, or releasing top, what do they call it? Top security information. I don't know, whatever the term is, right? But he actually accused him of that after he stepped out, or after he was fired, or after he was no longer working for Trump. He wrote a book about how nutty Trump is, and he gave some examples. Trump then tried to litigate, but let's go in one more time and hear exactly this timeline. The glitches are from the original stream, so
Confidential but classified information. That's illegal, and you go to jail for that. And he should have known that. You go to jail for that. I think some of it was classified by him.
We are told that career officials, including intelligence officials over at the White House, actually cleared the book for publication, but Trump's political appointees sought to overturn that initial approval. What do you make of all of this?
well, hold on.
It's a bit of a torture. It's a bit of a torture.
To overturn
Let me hear that.
the book for publication. Officials, including intelligence officials over at the White House, actually cleared the book for publication, but Trump.
Okay, Trump cleared. The book was cleared under Trump for publication, and then
Trump's political appointees sought to overturn that initial.
aha. So there was someone already there in the beginning, right? And it was cleared. Trump put in a political appointee and had it overturned.
Initial approval. What do you make of all of this?
It's a bit of a torture history, Wolf. We do know that John Bolton was terminated from the White House in 2019. He wrote a book and submitted it to the National Security Council, as he is required to do, for what we call pre-publication review. That was conducted.
So that was 2019 when he was fired, and then he wrote the book, right? And he's required to submit it. So
by the person on the national security staff who's responsible for that work. Mr. Bolton contends that after months and months of working with him, that he was told.
So he worked with the then national security advisor, or whatever, whoever, head of the department that he's supposed to work with. He worked with them for some time to clear the book, according to Trump's concerns.
Orally that the review had been completed and that the book was cleared for publication. A week or two after that, he was told that person's boss had decided to conduct their own review into the potential classified material in the book. And it kind of threw the whole process back into delay. In the meantime, Bolton had already conveyed to his publisher that the book had been approved. It was printed. It was.
Okay, so after it was approved, right, by government officials, he gave the green light to his publisher. The publisher released the book, and then Trump puts a new appointee in and says that it's not approved.
It was bound. It was ready to go out. That precipitated a lawsuit by the White House against Bolton to both enjoin the publication of the book and to seize the revenue that Bolton was being paid, because they claimed that he had not gone through the process faithfully. Ultimately, John Bolton won.
That's a key word. They use this now. So they make a claim that he has not gone through the process faithfully. Okay, so I'm curious what they mean exactly by faithfully. And let me ask you, do you think any of Trump appointees do anything faithfully? Do you think Trump does anything faithfully? Do they hold up the Constitution faithfully? Let me know what you think. It's a crazy accusation to come from someone in Trump's camp.
That prevailed in that suit. Money was not taken from him, and he was allowed to publish the book. It was only after that process that the Trump DOJ, in his first term, of course, initiated then a criminal investigation of whether.
What's up, Aaron? Eric, sorry. What's up, Eric?
Information. They convened a grand jury. They issued subpoenas. That work continued from the from the Trump DOJ into the Biden years. But ultimately, DOJ walked away from the case and kind of dismissed the grand jury and never charged John Bolton with a crime. So The fact that they've renewed this investigation now, jury, they
Hold on.
issued subpoenas. That work continued from the from the Trump DOJ into the Biden years, but ultimately DOJ walked away from the case. It kind of.
So, in other words, neither one, Trump or Biden, none of them found it. They dropped it. Basically, they didn't charge him. They didn't move forward with anything specific. Neither Trump's responsible parties or Biden's. So,
Dismissed the grand jury and never charged John Bolton with a crime. So, the fact that
Trump never charged him with a crime before when he could have, if they had found something, right? But he was never charged before under even the appointee under Trump never did it, So and not under Biden either.
They've renewed this investigation now. Really raises good questions as to whether or not they actually have additional or new evidence that would justify such a step. And it also creates all kinds of problems if John Bolton is ever charged. The government is going to have to explain to a jury that might hear the case someday why the case was dismissed initially. So this is complicated. It's likely to get no less complicated.
You hear that? So they would have to explain, and even in their new case, why they didn't move forward before under the last Trump appointee who had a investigation already open. So they would have to explain those things. What happened now? What's different now? What's the new accusation? Yo, Eric, you in DC? Let me know, bro. All right. This is
a long way from understanding.
To Dems, this is no surprise, obviously. Dems said during the election cycle, before Trump became president, before the election, that if Trump was arrested, he would go after his political enemies. Dems clearly believed that before the election. Donald Trump is elected, nonetheless, by the people. Donald Trump says the election was fake, by the way. Anyway, I don't know why he says that. Maybe it's because he's in office now. But, if it was fake, then why are you the president? But in any case, he was elected by the people. And it appears that he is going after his political enemies. Now, I'm just going to ask you one thing. Do you think that this is an attempt to silence John Bolton? Damn, I don't know why I'm saying Michael Bolton. John Bolton from speaking because he was and is and remains a harsh critic of Trump, although he himself was a neocon, although he himself was appointed by Trump. Do you think this has more to do with silencing John Bolton or some actual real crime that they're looking for? If you think there's a real crime they're looking for, put 1 in the chat. If you think it's a real crime and that they're looking for, and put 2 in the chat if you think it's just they're trying to silence him. So put 2 in the chat if you think they're trying to silence him, and put 1 in the chat if you think there is an actual, real, worthwhile investigation going on here.
Whether or not this investigation is legitimate and whether or not John Bolton will ultimately face any kind of charge.
Security advisor to President Trump in his.
All right, and this gives you the last one. This was published on August 21st. So this is just the other day, right? Just what is this? August 21st is what? Yesterday? Yeah, it's yesterday. So this is the last post John Bolton made, basically. Now let's take a listen. Let me see. It says Putin's KGB training and flattery campaign is working Trump over, as seen by Trump's statement recently about how Ukraine shouldn't have taken the war on. It's important to remember Ukraine didn't take anything on; they were invaded. Okay, that's what John Bolton said yesterday. Today, his home is being raided. Just to give you some context.
And Ambassador Bolton joins us. So we've been asking this question. It's always good to have you on, Ambassador Bolton, and Kelly got to it about the what's next. So now that we have a second after Friday and after yesterday, what would you say? How do you think Trump's handled the last week in trying to put this whole thing together?
Well, I think there have been some positive developments. I think it's important that Trump rejected the idea of a ceasefire. because I think a ceasefire is very dangerous for Ukraine. If you freeze the battle lines, and that becomes where the ceasefire is administered, and then negotiations begin in Geneva or Vienna and drag on, whether you call it a ceasefire or truce, whatever you want to call it, that can harden that line into a de facto boundary. That's what happened beginning in Cyprus in 1964. It's what happened in Korea in 1953. I think as long as Europe and the United States are providing Ukraine with the necessary resources, that fighting while negotiating is in Ukraine's best interest. I think it's Russia that needs a ceasefire, given the economic and military damage they've suffered. We'll see how that turns out, but I thought that was the right approach.
I wonder if Trump agrees with his analysis, because he's actually saying he agrees with that idea that Trump put out, that there shouldn't be a ceasefire, but he's saying it's in Ukraine's favor. But I'm curious to know, does Trump agree with that statement now in retrospect? Michael Bolton. I'm curious, but
Well,
in
I
any
heard
case,
that because you'd come on this show, I guess it was last week, and I had to do a double take at first, but then you explained it, and I understood your logic more about how a ceasefire wouldn't be necessarily in the Ukrainian interest, even though Europeans and many more were at the time pushing it, and still are, very aggressively. Now, if there's no ceasefire, you're trying to go straight to a big peace agreement, which is what the president was talking about yesterday. But in order to have a conversation that gets you there, you have to have one about the security guarantees, right? No boots on the ground, American boots at least is what the president's saying, maybe air support. So if that's the case, can the Europeans really pick this up and guarantee Ukraine's security?
Well, you have to talk about other issues too, like how much territory does Russia get and how much does Ukraine get. But I think on the security guarantee side, we're seeing what America might do starting to be sliced away like watermelon. So, okay, no boots on the ground. But the president used the phrase air support.
Yes.
Okay, well, what does that mean exactly? So if British and French combat troops on the ground run into trouble because the Russians have violated the ceasefire, does our air support include providing A-10 Warthogs for close air support to those combat arms?
John Bolton is asking questions that Trump supporters don't even ask. And he's asking actually very logical questions. What does that mean? What does Article 5 exactly mean? What do these agreements mean on paper versus reality, right?
Arms forces on the ground in trouble, does it include B-52 and B-2?
Like when Trump says no American soldiers on the ground, does he mean no American combat forces involved in the conflict? Or does he, like, for example, does he mean on the ground? Does that mean in the air too with Trump? Like he's saying, to know what's going on, you have to ask detailed questions to Trump, because he gives vague statements, and of course the journalism media right now has been all like pushed down, suppressed. If you ask a question, you get berated or talked down to, or even to get in the press room you have to almost be trusted to ask certain kind of questions. It's interesting.
Strategic Russian targets behind the
I mean, I could see why Trump would be a little upset at John Bolton for his speech, because John Bolton is literally breaking Trump's ass down every second.
Lines to relieve the pressure on the Brits and the French. Does it include fighter bombers like the F-16 and F-18? Is that what he's talking about? So if that's what he's talking about, let's be clear. He's willing to risk American air service members in combat, but not American combat arms. Or is he talking about American transport capabilities? Two very different things, and could be dispositive in whether any security guarantee means anything. It's not the words on the piece of paper. It's whether the Russians are deterred because of that force, if that's what they're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's a good, and maybe we'll get some clarification from the president over the next few days about that, or someone else.
Facts, Joseph.
To go, it's go back to your earlier point on the order this thing goes. My thinking was just that you couldn't have those conversations you alluded to about land swapping and who gets what without the security guarantees. But do you think we can?
Well, number one, in any negotiation, nothing's agreed to until everything's agreed to. I think the moving party here is Putin, who said, I believe, to Trump sometime on Friday or in one of their conversations, this isn't going anywhere unless I get the remaining 30% of the Donetsk Oblast province that we don't yet control. That's what Putin wants. That's his demand. You can talk about everything else, but somebody has to decide whether Ukraine's prepared to give that up. I'm not sure Zelensky or any Ukrainian leader can give that up and survive politically. We'll see. Then, you know, security guarantees, I think, have to be resources, not words on a piece of paper. Take Article 5. People say, well, that's the toughest guarantee there is. It's the toughest guarantee there is because of American force. And, you know, I always think it's nice to read things when you talk about them. Article 5 says that an attack on one shall be considered an attack on all, and each party will provide to the party attacked using its right of individual and collective self-defense under Article 51 of the UN Charter. And this is what it says. It will provide, and I'm quoting now, each party such action as it deems necessary. Doesn't say you will fight to defend the other party. It says including military force, but making it clear it's not required, it's permissible. Such action as it deems necessary. Just think about what those words mean.
Exactly, as it's deemed necessary. Yeah, so that's a very Article 5 is very open. It's written very loosely and open. So where it gives states opportunity to decide themselves not only how much they want to be involved, but how they interpret certain things too, activities. Now, again, this is John Bolton's last post, basically, right? Up on Twitter or X, right? And this happened yesterday. And now today, hours later, just hours later, it's not even a lot of hours later, they've raided his home, right? Now, obviously, you know, they've given the history. It's been outlined that they've had a long back and forth about this book, right? And there's been ample opportunity to charge him with the crime if they had found any crime. If it's based on anything in the past, like his book. If it's based on his book, that's the past. Now, and Trump had the opportunity as president and having an appointee look into this book before. He had the possibility to charge him before. So herefrom, there must be something new. I'm curious to know what it is. I myself, I don't believe it. I believe that it is really just another distraction from the Epstein files.
Here's
And,
what I don't.
you know, let's be honest. How many Americans give a damn right now, either way, about Ukraine or Russia? I mean, let me ask you this. What is the most important thing to you? If you could only have one of these things, would it be one, the release of the Epstein files, or two, Russia and Ukraine peace agreement? If you could only have one, what would matter to you most? Put a one in the chat if it's the Epstein files, unredacted, except the victims. If that's you want that, or number two would be peace between Russia and Ukraine. I'm just talking about on your priority list. What's most important to you as an American? I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. If you want to get in the comment section, all you got to do is subscribe. You can unsubscribe when you're finished. You know, I just decided to try that today because I usually get a lot of trolls. But trolls, hey, listen, I'm giving you a voice too to state your opinion. I'm not stopping you, but you could do something for me too. Just subscribe sometimes so that the voices are balanced too. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make you have a specific opinion. I might question you on your opinion. I might disagree with your opinion, but it doesn't mean that we can't be a part of understanding how important these conversations are right now. And if you are here, that means you view the conversation important. But in any case, I'm going to say that one more time for y'all in the chat before I bounce out. If you could only have one or two things, can y'all hear me? Hold on. Let me double check this. Can you all hear me? Okay. Now, I'm going to say this one more time. If you could only have one of two things, one, the Epstein files released, unredacted, except the victims, or two, peace between Russia and Ukraine, which one would you choose? I'm just going to wait a second before I be out here. I'm curious about what people will choose. Let me know. Is it 1 or is it 2? What's more important? What rate's most important? Is it the release of the Epstein files so you can know what's in it, who's been involved, if there was espionage of any political leaders, of any judges, of any Congress people, senators, anything like that, Supreme Court justices, and others, right? Is that important, more important to Americans, or is it a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia? 1 or 2? No, actually, God gives you potential. I actually put the subscribe on for the first time because somebody kept just repeating over and over the same thing in the chat. So I was like, let me get on this, and they can still subscribe if they will. It only takes a press of a button to participate, you see, and you did that too. So obviously you wouldn't be here if you didn't subscribe. So it's easy and it's free subscription and it's immediate. If you subscribe, click, and then you can get in the chat. Now here's the thing. Again, I'm going to ask one more time, and help me out since you're here and you're listening. What would you have if you could only have one of the two things? If you could only have the Epstein files released with everything redacted except the victims' names, or peace between Russia and Ukraine, number 2, what would you do? 1, Epstein files, or 2, peace between Russia and Ukraine? Let me know what you think. 1 or 2? Seems like a tough question. Like, okay, I don't know. Is it a tough question? I don't really see it that tough myself, but in any case, I appreciate everybody for coming out. I will see y'all back tomorrow in like 12 hours, and be safe until then. All right, be good.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every clue. Don't let it.
Oh, and by the way, like the video, subscribe to the channel so you could be more part of the conversation. Subscribing gives you notifications to join the conversation, and it also lets you in the chat. Okay? At least for today. Peace, y'all.
Let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep. Even 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The world counterattack, and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute, you might hear, but they won't, cause the TVs whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison.
They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, and you know they want more. But they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, and you know